Welcome. In this short video, we're going to learn how to use styles in Personal Historian. Now, style is just a way to tell Personal Historian what a specific paragraph should look like, what font it should use, what the line spacing should be, whether the paragraph should be indented or not. And by collecting these characteristics and giving them a name, you can reuse this style over and over in different stories. The great thing is that if you then need to change that style, you go into one place, make the change, and every story or every place that you've used that style, it's going to take effect, the change. Okay, so now there's two places that we can access the list of styles. One is from the story itself. When you're working on a story, this first little drop list right here, you can click on that and you can see any styles that are built in or that you've created, and you can also click Edit Styles to bring up the little style editor. The other place that you can do it is from the main screen. You can go to Tools and then File Options, and then right here select Styles, and here is your list of styles to work from right here. I'm going to show you two really good uses for styles. The first one of these is being able to change the default font that you're using within the program. So for example, when I double click to open up this story, you'll see that all of these paragraphs are using what's called the normal font, and that's or the normal style, and that's one that's built in. And that every one of my stories right here are using that same normal style. It's like a Times Roman, probably 11 point font. There's no indent. It's left justified and so on. Now, let's say I wanted to change that though. I can come into my tools and into the file options and go into the styles, and I can say I want to edit that normal style. And once I'm in here, I can change the font, the size, whether or not the default font is bold, italics, underlining. So let's go ahead and just show you. I'm going to pick a really off-the-wall font, so it's substantially different from the one that's already in here. I'll pick Vivaldi, and it's this weird little scripty one. And I'm not going to worry about changing any of these others, but I could make any changes that I wanted. I'm going to click OK, and I'm going to close the style editor, and I'm going to go right back into my stories. And you'll see my stories, even though they say it's normal, they're now with that new font. And the reason is because I changed the normal style. I changed the font with the normal style. So I didn't have to go into this story and change its font. I didn't have to go into this story and change its font. I just changed the normal style. And by doing that, every place that the normal style was used is now changed for me. So I'm going to go back in there because that font is really hard to read. So I'm going to go back to Tools and then to File Options and Styles. I'm going to edit that normal style again, and I'm going to change that back to Times New Roman right there. You'll see when I do that, when I go back into here now, it's back to where it was. Okay, so that's the first really good use of styles, is being able to change your default font so that if you're not happy with Times New Roman 11 and you want it to be something else, even if all you want to do is make it a little bit bigger, you can go in and change that normal style to be 12 point, or make whatever little changes you want. Okay, now I'm going to show you the second really useful feature of styles, and that is being able to create your own styles. So let's say I want to create little subheaders. Let's say I want to create something so that when I'm talking about my date here, and now I'm coming to the point where the actual night of the date, the actual date. Okay, I'm going to give this, I want this to be a header. Now I could type this in just like this, and then I could highlight it, and I could say change the font, make it a little bigger, or change to a different font and set it to bold, whatever I wanted, and it would apply that right there. The problem with that is if I want to have these little headers all through my personal history in a bunch of different stories, I have to remember what settings I used and go into each one of my stories and make that change individually for every place where I have one of these headers. And then if I decide I don't quite like the way it is and I need to change it, I have to go into every single one of those stories and make that change back into the header that I used. So rather than do that, I'm going to go into the styles and I'm going to say edit styles. And edit styles will let me add a new style. It'll let me also, as I showed before, I can edit any of the existing styles or I can remove styles. So I'm going to add a style, and this style is going to be called header. I call it whatever I want, but that's the name I'm going to use here. Now for the font, I want it to be Arial. Okay, I don't really want it to be serif. I want it to be sans serif without the little notchy things. And I want it to be a little bit bigger, so I'm going to make it 12 point. And I want it to be bold. Now, as you make these changes, down here you'll see kind of an approximation of what that will look like. I mean, it's not going to be exact, but it's going to give you a relatively good idea what this is going to look like compared to your regular text. So I'm going to go ahead and say OK. I now have a new style called header. Click OK. And I'm going to highlight this text and I'm going to change the style to header. Okay. Now, in looking at this, I can see that I would actually prefer to not have all this blank space under it. I'd actually like to have this moved down, no big gap underneath the header. So I can go back in to edit the styles again, and I'm going to edit that header, and I'm going to come right down here to the spacing. And right now I have 8 points of space after the paragraph, and so I'm just going to set that to 0. In other words, I want to have the header and then go right into the text, and I might want to put a little bit of space up above it. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and click OK. OK, and you'll see it automatically has changed for me. That's the advantage of styles. If I go and use this header style in 100 different stories, and then decide I want to make a little change to it. Let's say I prefer to use a little different font, or I want it a little smaller, or I'd like them to be italics, whatever. I can just go in and edit that header style, and every story where I've used that style is automatically going to change for me. It's going to, I don't have to go into each story individually and make that change one at a time. Okay, so here's another example of how you might use a new style. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come in and I'm going to put a blank line in here. Now I've got this quote in my story about my first date here, and I'm going to copy and paste that into its own line right here. You better be delivering a package, because if you're honking that horn expecting my daughter to come out, you're in for a heap of trouble. Now, what I want to do with this quote right here, even though it's up above, is I want to turn this into one of those cool little quotes that you see in a story where you've got paragraphs and then all of a sudden you've got this little centered, bolded, italics quote that kind of jumps out at you. It's one of those things that kind of pulls you into the story. You go to the page and you see that, and a lot of times the first thing you read is that bolded quote. And that's what I want to turn this into. So I'm going to go create a style just to do that. So I'm going to go into Edit Styles, and I'm going to say, again, I want to add a new style. And this style, I'll just call it Center Quote. You know, those might actually have a name. I don't know what it is, but I'll just call mine Center Quote. I can always come back here and change the name of it without affecting everything later if I want. Now the alignment on these, it's going to be centered, and you'll see it's kind of changing it down here. And the font, Times New Roman, is fine for it, but I want to make it a little bit bigger to stand out, and I want it to be bold, and I want it to be italics so that it kind of stands out here. Now if I do this, that quote is going to go all the way from side to side in my document. Well, most of these quotes that I've seen, they're much narrower. They're indented on the left and right. And so I'm going to do that. I have indentation, and I'm going to change that left indentation from left to right on the left and the right to 1.5 inches. And there we go. Now the thing that's nice about this is I can create these, and then when I look at them, if I don't like the way it looks, I can go back in and edit the style. So I've done that. I'm now going to select that quote right here, and I'm going to change its style to center quote. Boom, there we go. Now if I want to see what this is going to look like when I print it, I can go up here to the little printer button and actually do a print preview. You can't always tell what it's going to look like from this composer because it's automatically going to wrap it no matter how wide you make this. And it's not going to really match what your page is going to look like. So I'm going to go look to see how this looks when it's actually printed. So I'm going to click on that and say generate the report, and that opens full screen. So I need to resize that down and bring that into here. And let's open this up. And here is my little emphasized quote. So when you come to this page, you're going to have that "you better be delivering a package" quote highlighted right here, which will drag the person in, make them a little more interested because they want to see what kind of trouble you were in when you were honking for their daughter. So those are some really useful ways to use styles. Styles are very easy to work with, and yet they're very powerful. You make a style up, you can use that style as much as you want, and anytime you need that style to be a little bit different, you just go make a change to that style, and it automatically takes effect every place in the story or in your personal history that you've used it. So I hope this helps you to make this personal history that you're working on exactly what you want, and good luck on writing your perfect personal history.